jury's returned into open court, Witness Hall. Ms. Cohagen.
Wait, call, Your Honor.
Yes,
sir.
All right. Who do you wish to call? You may be seated. Thank you.
Detective Tim Buss.
Denny, that's you. You may keep it off. I don't. It's I'm afraid it's a low battery.
And there's not a volume control on it.
No, I got that. Are you awake? I'll do that to you every once in a while. I'll just hit that.
You think it's low battery? How long will it?
I don't know.
I just turn it back on.
Try it now.
Low.
And keep it high. Keep the mic higher up on your tie. If you remember. Yeah. Detective, if you'll be sworn by the clerk, please.
Affirm the testimony you're about to say is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Thank you.
Please state and spell your name for the record.
Tim Buss, and it's Timbuss.
Right, and please tell the jury where you're employed.
I'm employed with the Bowling Green Police Department.
How long have you been employed there?
I've been employed as an officer for 13 and a half years.
And what type of training have you received?
Over the years, I went to the, when I was first hired, I went to the Basic Academy, which is a 16-week academy for all law enforcement in Kentucky. And then every year we are required to do a 40-hour in-service. And then on top of that, due to different assignments I've had with the department, I've received additional training on a yearly basis on top of 40-hour in-service.
Okay, let's talk for just a minute about that additional training. You currently have more of a specific role. I don't mean to insult you, but you're kind of a computer nerd. Is that a fair assessment?
I do digital exams.
Okay. So let's talk about that. You're the person that can forensically search a computer, is that correct? Or
Yes.
a cell phone? And explain to the jury what kind of training that you've received to do that.
I said I'm currently assigned as a detective, but within the detective division, I've kind of taken on the additional role of examining digital forensics for cases, like I said, computers or cell phones, DVR systems, things of that nature. For that specific position, over the last 3 years, I've went through approximately 500 hours of training related to that, such as cell phone interrogation, collection of digital intelligence, collection of data recovery from computers and cell phones. I've also attended numerous courses in specific to the software we use. We use different types of software depending on what types of exams we're doing. So one of them that I used for this case was a program called Lantern, which is used for forensic examination of cell phones. I went to a certification class for that. I've also been to certification classes for Cellbrite, which is another cell phone program that we use. And then just done numerous online instructor-led courses in reference to recovery of digital evidence from different types of cell phones and computer devices.
All right. And in this case, were you asked to examine Kaylee Whitehall's cellular telephone?
Yes, I was.
And did you do that?
Yes, I did.
And can you explain to the jury what type of software that you used to examine her cell phone?
On this case, I said I was asked to examine Ms. Whitehall's cell phone. Consent had been given. When I arrived at the station, I used a program called Lantern, which runs off a Mac laptop. Basically, it runs Android-type devices or iPhone-type devices.
And once you run this program, what type of results do you receive from such an exam?
Depending on the type of phone and the version of operating system that it runs, it can pull different items. Basically, the program is written to try to communicate with a device and pull as much information as possible. But due with the number of different cell phones that are out there, Sometimes it'll pull more information off a certain type of phone than it does other ones. But in this case, for example, some of the items that it pulled were things such as call logs, text messages, contacts, internet history, bookmarks, and videos and images are some of the main items that it pulled off the device.
Okay. And was this a Samsung Galaxy phone that you examined?
Yes, it was.
And when you received the phone, was it damaged in any way?
Not that I recall, no.
All right. And do you recall when you initially opened the phone, what was on the phone?
When I initially opened the phone, there was a contact that was pulled up on Ms. Whitehall's phone, or Ryan S. was the contact that was pulled up on the phone.
And once you run this software, does it generate some sort of report?
It does. It separates everything out into different categories, and then I have the ability to report out all the information it pulled or specific items that it pulled from that device.
Hang on, Approach Charlotte.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll ask, were you able to retrieve a call log from the cellular telephone?
Yes, I was.
And I'd like to mark this as Commonwealth's Exhibit number 63.
Is that a cumulative list?
That's the call log from the entire phone, is that correct?
This is the entire call log from Ms. Whitehall's cell phone. I'm just going to double check that I got all the pages for it.
And you said 63? And this call log, it has some sort of what they call legend on the first page.
Yes.
And does that explain to you when you're looking at the call log, who's sending a call and who's receiving the call?
Yes, it does.
Okay. And were you able to retrieve any text messages?
Yes, I was.
And Your Honor, I'll mark this as Commonwealth's Exhibit 64.
All right.
Just want specific for.
Yes, specifically in regard. And I'll mark those separately as an exhibit. Do you want me to mark all the text messages as one, or do you want me to separate those into two categories?
No, ma'am. If I understand you correctly,
64 and Houston as 65. And were you able to extract any photographs or anything posted on social media?
I was able to locate several images from the device. Yes.
And in regards to the items from social media, I'll mark those as 66.
Yeah, the social media ones were recovered through a separate process. They were not from the device itself. Actually, if I can correct that, there's one photograph that was from social media, and then two pictures that are related to that were recovered from the device.
Okay. I'll mark those cumulatively as 66.
To approach, Your Honor?
yes. It's to be marked as exhibit, not displayed to the jury.
Gotcha.
And I think you mentioned also some photographs. I'll mark those as 67. And you didn't print all the photographs, there were just a few printed, is that correct?
I did not. The digital report, if it was to be printed, would be several thousand pages.
Thank you.
Denny,
No questions?
Detective, you may step down. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Kim?
Commonwealth calls Officer Bowman, Dustin Bowman.
Officer, if you'll be sworn by the clerk, please.
Then raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that testimony you're about to give us the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. Please stand up.
Yes, ma'am.
Please state and spell your name for the record.
Officer Dustin Bowman, D-U-S-T-I-N-B-O-W-M-A-N,
And please tell the jury where you're employed.
Bowling Green Police Department.
And how long have you been employed there?
Coming up on 4 years.
And what type of training have you received?
DOCJT and various courses throughout the years.
You're required to complete in-service every year, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. 40
Okay.
hours every year.
All right. Now, tell the jury if you were working on September the 10th, 2015.
I was.
And were you, did you respond to a call at 168 Lost River Lane, Bowling Green, Kentucky?
I did.
And what was the nature of that call?
I believe the initial nature of the call was an assist EMS.
And what did you observe when you arrived?
When I arrived on the scene, I observed fire and EMS were already on scene, as well as 2 other officers and made entry to the residence. There was broken glass on the floor, just some of the house seemed disarray.
And who was present at the scene when you arrived, other than the firemen and EMS?
I believe the defendant, Kaylee
Okay.
Whitehall.
And did you have an opportunity to speak with Ms. Whitehall?
I did.
Right. And do you recall, tell us about when you initially arrived, I mean, you walked through the door, what do you do?
I walked through the door. I observed Officer Allen was already with Miss Whitehall. She was hysterical, from the events, and he had advised me to stand in the threshold of the doorway between her and the kitchen that would lead into the bedroom to keep her from getting in there.
Okay. And at this point, did you have a conversation with Ms. Whitehall?
It was very brief, yes.
And what was said at this point?
Officer Allen was asking her about what happened, and kind of explain a little bit about the events. She advised that there had been a dispute between her and her boyfriend, Mr. Houston, and that she had, in defense, accidentally stabbed him.
Okay. And did she make any statements?
Not recorded at the time. She was escorted out to my cruiser where I conducted a recorded interview with her.
Okay. Prior to the recorded interview, did she give you any other explanation about that?
She had said a lot of things. She was just rambling on things, and it was an accident, and she didn't mean to. She just wanted him to stop hurting her, and that she didn't know what happened, and she just kind of snapped.
So she stated, I don't know what happened, I just snapped.
Correct.
All right. Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
Yes, ma'am.
And so at this point, you're inside. Some statements were made to you that you said at that point weren't recorded.
Correct.
And do you decide at some point that you should probably get a recorded statement from her?
Yes.
And so how do you proceed?
I escorted her to my cruiser and secured her in the back seat. She wasn't armed or anything. Secured her in the back seat of my cruiser, grabbed my recorder from the front seat of my cruiser, initiated the recording, stated who I was going to be conducting an interview with, and then proceeded to address Ms. Whitehall and our Miranda evidence from the evening.
Okay, and I'll ask you if you recognize this.
I do.
And can you please identify this for the jury?
That is a copy of the recorded interview that I conducted.
Okay. And how do you know it pertains to this case?
It has the case number on it, the report number
Okay.
from my original report.
And after you complete this interview, do you log it into evidence at the police department?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Your Honor, at this juncture, I request permission to play this for the jury.
Without objection.
Officer Bowman, today's date, 9/10/2015. Be recording with the interview with Kaylee Whitehall.
Then arrest me because I need to know what's going on with you.
Okay,
Did he die?
listen to me. I don't know that, okay?
I just don't want
Listen to
never
me.
been.
Listen to me.
I just don't want you to interrupt me
Okay, I
anymore.
understand that. You've already said that, okay? Listen to me, Kaylee. Listen to me, okay? I need you to take a deep breath because I need you to tell me in sequence of events what happened.
Okay.
Okay? First of all, hold on. Before you answer anything, I have to read these to you because right now you're detained, you're not free to go, okay? Alright, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you in court. You have the right to an attorney before making any statement, and you may have your attorney with you during questioning. If you cannot afford an attorney and desire one, the court will appoint one for you. You may stop the questioning at any time by refusing to answer further or by requesting to consult with your attorney. Do you understand each of these rights that I've explained to you? With these rights in mind, do you wish to speak to me now?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
What happened?
So, we were talking at first and I came home after work and he didn't like us. I came home like 5 minutes late after work because I had to close the center because I work at me. I'm the supervisor. So I had to stay a little extra. And so I came in and he was already pissed. And the first thing I said was, what the fuck is wrong with you? Why are you mad at me? He's like, because I know you're doing something. You're 5 minutes late. And I told Brittany, I looked at Maddie's girlfriend and I said, are you serious? I was like, I'm not doing anything. So he came up behind me, he grabbed me behind the throat, and I was like, Kirsten, let me fucking go. And he's done this before. I had to get stitches in my head because we've done this, but this is just a normal thing we do. And I told him, I said, Kirsten, let me go. And he kept choking me, and he threw me to the ground, and so I got up. And I told him, I said, I'm going back downstairs. I pushed him really hard against the wall.
Okay, this was all, what time was this at?
This was like 30 minutes ago, 40 minutes ago.
Okay.
This is why all this shit's broken.
Okay.
Since I pushed him off of me, and he threw the candles that were thing at me, and so I went like this, and so I threw him back, and that's why I hit the cut on his face, and so he came at me, and I told him, and Brittany tried breaking him up off of me, and he was choking the shit out of me, and so he literally dragged me by my hair up in the fucking kitchen, and I said, stop. Like I said, this is a normal thing, this is what we do, this is how we fight, and so we're upstairs in the kitchen, and he was grabbing me by my hair, and picked me up from my hair like this, and grabbed me, and so I grabbed the knife, and I was like this to get him off of me, but I didn't know.
The knife was on, what was the first
It was a kitchen knife, and it was because I didn't know what else to do, because last time he did this.
When you said you grabbed, was this in the kitchen, were you guys in the kitchen?
Yes, it was.
Okay, and then where did you grab it from?
Just from the dispensary, because I was like, get off of me, and I went like this, and I
Something
turned
like the
around.
steak knife?
Yeah, and he turned around and he was like, he was fine, he was talking to me, he was like, you're a fucking bitch, and then he tried to come at me again, and Brittany and Maddie got in between, he was like, hold up, so I didn't think anything was wrong, and that's the only thing I did, and I told him, I said, I'm not doing this no more, and that's what I said, is I didn't know it was I didn't know what the fuck I did to him, I just did it,
he was behind you?
Yes, because the same thing happened overtime, and there's the same thing on video. He did the same thing, and he busted my head open, and I get stitches and everything, and I told him, like, I can't, like, I didn't know what to do. He's bigger than me. He's fucking 6'4". And then overtime, the same thing happened, and this happened here tonight, and I didn't mean to, but I just want him off of me because I didn't want him hurting me anymore. And I didn't think that was going to happen. It was a fucking flinch reaction. I really didn't. I swear I just did because I just didn't want him hurting me.
At what point did you realize that he was actually pretty hurt?
I didn't until he was talking shit to me after I did that, and he was like, "You're a bitch," and I was like, "Whatever, fuck you, I'm out," and I was getting my shit, and Matt came in there, was like, he's in the bathroom, he's sitting on the toilet, and I went in there, I was like, "You can't keep doing this," he was like, "You're a bitch," and he kept talking to me, so I didn't think anything was wrong, until when he fell on the floor, and I was like, "What is he doing? Is he not breathing?" I was like, wait, is he not breathing? And I even told Matt, I was like, okay, wait a minute, because I've never done this, and he's dramatic, but he's not that dramatic for him to fall on the floor like that, because he's a prissy guy, he wouldn't get his shit dirty. So I was like, why is he on the floor? And then, I don't even know, I just did it because I didn't want to hit him no more.
Okay, what happened after you collapsed on the floor?
I started doing CPR because my sister's a nurse, she works in the hospital, so I just started doing CPR as much as I can, trying blood all over me, because I really wasn't trying to hurt him, I just wanted him off of me, because he doesn't know, like, he's bigger than me, I just didn't, I would never do anything to hurt him.
Who called? Did you call 911 or did
No, I told Manny while I was doing CPR and trying to press on his friend that was over here with us, and I was saying, Manny, please call, please, because I know he's not breathing, and he's not traumatic like this. Usually he's dramatic where he'll be like, oh, I'm gonna fucking lay on the floor and do some stupid shit, but not to get his clothes dirty, because he's really prissy like that. And that's when I was like, he would not do this, and I swear I would never. I don't even care if I do in a jail, I just don't want him to die. I love him so much. I just didn't want him hitting me anymore because he doesn't know. Like, he's so much bigger than me.
73.
And bruises that she had on her legs.
Melissa, would you pull the microphone?
I'm sorry.
Pull the microphone.
Legs.
Melissa, would you pull the microphone?
73.
And bruises that she had on her legs.
Melissa, would you pull the microphone?
I'm sorry.
Toward that way, thank you.
And 74.
And that would be her left leg.
Okay. And you indicated you also collected her clothing, was that correct?
That's correct.
And I'll mark this as Commonwealth Exhibit number 75. And while the clothing was in your control, did you alter or modify it in any way?
No, ma'am.
And those photographs accurately depict Kaylee Whitehall on September 10th?
Yes, ma'am.
I take it you do not challenge the authentication of 75 either?
No objection.
Very good.
And in regards to 75, do you have the ability to open this? Do you have a knife?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Wasn't sure if you did. Gloves here right now, so I'm not going to ask you to take those items out right now. But if you can please explain to the jury what's located inside the box.
The size 9 385 sandals that she was wearing, her bra, and I also see her t-shirt that she was wearing. And her pants are also in there.
All right, thank you. You may answer.
Thank you.
Detective Warchak, you saw Kaylee pretty much right after this happened?
I'm not exactly sure. There was a period of time, I know she had spoke to detectives already. I had actually gone to the medical center first to photograph Mr. Johnson, and I had been out to the scene as well.
So would it be fair to say maybe within a couple hours after this happened?
I would say within a couple
You
hours.
back
Yes,
taking these pictures or observing what you observed?
yes, sir.
My question is, on Kaylee's person, did you observe any marks, scratches, blemishes, bruises, red marks, anything like that at all?
I did, obviously, from the pictures, observe bruises on her legs. She looked like she possibly had some sort of scratch on her back. Again, from that are documented in the pictures that I took. Her neck, possibly. It was kind of hard to tell at that point because it was so soon after everything had occurred. But I obviously photographed.
Experience in training, if there's bruises and marks like that, sometimes it may take.
Sometimes it might take a time for bruises to appear.
And that's why you all might take photographs, a couple days after, then a few days after.
Detective, you may step in. Thank you. Who wish to call next?
Detective Hughes.
Detective Hughes.
Is that me? Was that me, Your Honor?
No, I don't think so. Maybe Ken's observation. That's right.
Please state and spell your name for the record.
Wade, W-A-D-E, Hughes, H-U-G-H-E-S.
And tell the jury where you're employed.
City of Bowling Green Division of Police,
How long have you been employed there?
since January 2002.
And what are your duties and responsibilities there currently?
I'm currently assigned to Patrol Division.
And prior to that, were you assigned to CID?
Yes, I was a detective for 5 years.
All right. And did you request to leave that division?
I did.
And tell the jury why you requested to leave that division.
I had had several very difficult child death investigations, and I just felt it was time for me to go back to patrol just for my emotional well-being.
And the training that you've received as a police officer?
When I went to the academy in 2002, at that time it was 16 weeks. In addition to that, every year we are required 40 hours in service training. Since I've been hired, I've had several specialized training. I was a bicycle officer, a motorcycle officer, a hostage negotiator, currently on the SWAT team. So in addition to the detective training that I got, has been several hundred hours of additional training on top of just the basic police officer training.
And were you on call September 10th, 2015?
I was.
And did you receive a notification from the police department that you needed to come to work?
I did. I was notified by my immediate supervisor, Sergeant Sean Helbig, at 01:31 hours.
And did you go directly to the police station?
I did. He had informed me that that there had a stabbing had occurred, and they were transporting an individual to the hospital via EMS, and CPR was in progress. And he requested that I guess initially begin interviews, and he informed me at that time that I would be the lead investigator on this case.
And did you make contact with Kaylee Whitehall?
I did.
And that was at the station?
That's correct.
And that's the first time that you met with her was at the station?
That's correct.
All right. And did you have an opportunity to speak to her?
I did, yes, ma'am.
And was that interview recorded?
It was.
I'll ask you if you can identify this CD.
Yes, this was my initial interview with Ms. Whitehall before she was processed there on September 10, 2015.
And it is documented with the case number that's associated with this case.
That's correct. 2015-07997 was the case number.
Thank you.
That's correct. I believe she was transported by Officer Bowman, and there was a time while I was responding that she was just waiting in the room.
I'm going to fast forward to when the interview starts.
Situation, they just want to know if he's okay.
So let me figure this out.
Not text me to make my phone call or whatever.
So let me figure this out.
It's not text me to make my phone call or whatever you should do, because this is, I just want to know if he's okay, and you guys are doing this, like, it's driving to the wall.
I understand. I'll be right back, okay?
I appreciate anything to say. I just had logged in, and so I wanted to come figure out what is going on before I came in here, okay? I just got off the phone with him, and there's no really easy way for me to say this. He died.
Already doing it. I know how to do CPR because someone has asthma. I already do.
Like I say, I didn't want to, I didn't want to get any information.
You guys don't have to tell me I already do because that's in medical. There's not even, this whole thing was so fucked up from the get-go, like.
Well, let me step out and get you some issues.
No, I just I don't even care at this point because it's not, everyone's going to think that it's mostly good at this, I just do it easy, like, you guys don't even know who it is.
Well, that's not what I think. Hey, my job is not to think that to come in here and think that you did this on purpose or anything.
Like, I already know, listen, like I said, I really work with law and everything, and I already know your guys' pre-assumptions, but it's just, this is not a situation I would ever think that I would ever be in a million years. For real. I will never wish harm on you ever. It's just, I just didn't want to on me, and he was bigger than me, and I didn't want him touching me anymore. I don't even, what else do you want from me?
Well, first, I want to get on the same page as far as this. I don't have any pre-ideas that I was in bed and just got woke up, okay? So here's the thing. My job is to try to figure out what happened, okay? And so I don't want you to think automatically that I'm sitting here pointing the finger at you or doing anything, because what I need to do is find out kind of what happened all through the night, And if situations kind of got out of hand and led to this,
Okay.
But before we do anything,
I feel like, I don't even want to do this, I feel like I should have aware because I feel like things against me are going to be just, this is not even, I didn't even do anything wrong, I just protected myself because I didn't want him hitting me no more, that's it. I didn't even want him hitting me anymore, but it was such a reflection of, like, my movement, and I didn't even know that happened because he was normal, he stood up and was like, you're a bitch, yada yada, and I didn't think anything of it. It's not like he fell so forward or anything. This happens all the time. Like, this is our normal thing. He just gets mean and gets abusive, and that's it. That's what happens. But this time I just didn't. I don't even know this is you right now. I don't even know that I really would never live in a million years from time. I'd rather just be fucking whatever I am. I would never do that. Especially, I just don't want to do anything anymore. If I couldn't breathe, the only thing I could do is fucking grab something and get him off of me. That's the only thing I wanted is off of me. That's it.
you're not under arrest right now. Let me get out and get you some tissue.
No, I don't know to be like to leave a comment with her. Because she works at the hospital. I know she knows already. I just want to come to my sister. But I need my contacts. I don't know anyone's contacts right now.
Let me sit down and real quick. I'll be right back. I promise I'll be back as quick as I can. Here's some tissue, huh?
Hey, did you say you wanted to call your sister?
Okay. I don't even contact.
Okay.
I don't know her number though.
You don't know?
I don't know anyone's number, but actually, Kathy Ryan Lance, she was in California, I think it's actually was contacted. I don't even know what to tell you yet. It's so crazy. I don't even know what to say to you. I don't even know what to do with it. Am I not? Like,
You're not under arrest, no.
I don't even know what to say. I know my sister just come over right now and be like, this was just happened. I don't think you guys even understand what she's pregnant. She doesn't treat it.
You think your sister maybe...
Hey, Ryan. I know this is going to sound so crazy, and I'm so sorry to call you, but you're the only number I know by heart. But I'm locked up right now. I guess I'm not under arrest, but I'm with the detective, and he's letting me call you. And I don't even know what to say right now. I'm so fucking confused on everything that he passed away. Because we had a dispute, and it's just something I'm fucking with right now. Because we got an altercation. And I tried getting him off of me, and I told him I was leaving him, and he wouldn't get off of me. And so I told him, I was like, I can't breathe. I told him I couldn't get up. And the only thing I could think about was the knife, and I stabbed him because he wouldn't get off of me, and I couldn't fucking breathe. And he died. So I went to because and I don't know what to do. I don't even know what's going on right now. Like, I don't even know what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't know. I don't want to call my sister because she works from the medical field. But I only did it because I didn't want to kill me. Like, I felt like my life was in danger, so I did it because he was hurting me. I know, and I only did because I couldn't breathe. And now he's not here, and I don't know what to do. So the only number I know where is doing, so I don't even know what to do. Yeah, I have his phone. This is his phone right now. Because he was like, oh, call someone. He told me I'm under arrest, but I don't know what to do. And I don't even know their my sister's special. I don't know their number, right? Because we want to call them. That's what I'm going to tell them. It's just one name off of me. The detective's little thing, because I may call you, but I don't even know what to do from here, because I don't even want to stay here. I've never been to jail, never done anything. I just want to go home. know how he is. I don't know every day what the fuck it's like. I just know those things I just know right now. I'm Brian, please help me. I don't know what to do. I basically told him like half because I can't even say the whole thing because I just might go into know that he's actually gone. Like I don't even know why. And it's so bad. I just want to go home. Like there's no thing. I just told him when I came home I was leaving, and this is what happened. And it didn't happen because when they asked me for that money, this is the main reason. That's why I needed it from because I just wanted to leave. And I would never think this was going to happen. I just thought it was going to hurt me. It was, but like, I didn't have to react because I couldn't breathe. And so it just grabbed when it was near me. I don't even... No.
That is a good place to stop today. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our lunch break at this time. I have to do some business with the grand jury, but we've been here for a while. If you will be back, cut it short at 12:30, please. While we're on this break, do not talk about the case form, express any opinion about the case until the matter is finally given to you for your final determination. I remind the attorneys, the parties, anyone having interest in this case not to have any conversation with the jury has left the courtroom. Detective Hughes, you may be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be in recess until 12:30. Ladies and gentlemen, the grand jury, if you'll just come forward. Just come up here. Tell me when you're ready. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, all 12 have returned into open court, grand jury, with 9 true bills and 0 no true bills.
19.
No, I'm sorry, what did I say?
9. Understand.
19. Kim, if you and Denny will leave your lavaliers just on the table, I'm going to check for batteries, please.